Season of the Dove. Driving away on tap shoe asphalt, I know it's going to be a while. This next of kin loneliness has shown no signs of age and still refuses to take the wheel. Counting the miles, I realize the possibility that measuring in metric means that the air must be condensed. The very air we were speeding through and could not see, the very air that was inside our lungs and outside our lungs, and how the need for our lungs would be greatly cheapened if there were no such air. A desperate grouping of marigolds grew alongside the road. I asked aloud if spring only knows to make pleas to summer, strangled itself by the petulance of pitied and hopeless midnight pixies. Vagrant storms leave quite a lecherous strain. I've seen our moon foaming through whiskey-illuminated clouds, and I've been at the wheel of quarter-ton death machines, naming the drops of rain as they patter across the windshield, my fingers attentive to a heavy 3/4 swing. Let's always find pity for our rhythmless and give the ignorant their hell. I believe I'll get some fresh air. Thank you for having me, but I must be going now. I know I don't come around very often. You're much too kind, you know, but you need not resort to such forms of flattery that lie beneath your feet. Your pedestal is a nice one, I am sure, for constructed it was from cold bones, gasoline, slick sinew, and what was left of my happiness. I've taken on the onus of building a shining kingdom, and it's all yours. Toiling in the presence of your grace has never been a chore. I feel it whole now and forevermore. As a youth, I remember the sky well. It seduced rainbow droves of most of my pet balloons. I couldn't tell at that age which one of us was drifting away from the other. And I would lie there in a dark room and afraid of that dark, wishing I could see through the ceiling of this box into the void of a peerlessly incondensable night sky. That gravity and the fear inherent in such boundless freedom kept me awake. But I'd always be able to drift off if I pictured a little neon speck in the expanse of darkness. You see, I already know you're like those balloons in a way. And it's in a painful way, I'm sure. If I'm lucky, I would be granted the treasure of seeing you drift away into the regions of this mind that I'm incapable of understanding or able to rely upon for remembrance. And hell, I can't even hear my heart anymore. I think I'll send out a check welfare on the poor bastard. He always took it the hardest. I've yet to mention the way most of those balloons went, stretched beyond their limits, or gas reserves depleted, or run through like D'Artagnan would with his rapier. Day-glow viscera clings wax-like to the sidewalk in a town that is all asleep. You are to be ignored from here on out. never referenced and replaced as quickly as is possible. But didn't that balloon once bring so much joy? The wonder encapsulated by a Carney-esque parlor trick? Those were the thrills of the world back then, but now all I have is you, and I think you're like one of those balloons. I don't want to have to beg mercy to not see the finality of this whole thing before it even begins, because it's already too late for that. And as much as I'd love to stay, I really must be going now. House party number 17. Rosewood and nickel, guns, stocks, and taxes. Please bring me to the midnight apparition who used their worldly body fighting the fascists. I must meet him for myself. I was with Minnie, who was in costume as a flying nun. She can see for thousands of miles, and she takes long drags off thin menthol cigarettes. How thick is my blood to a starving insect? What a meal some of us drink until we heal. She leaves the room to top off. A ghastly presence remains. The conversation comes to a halt, and I remain. In the kitchen, she fills her stemmed glass to the brim, takes a sample and frowns disgustedly. At this point, she fills a metallic water bottle to the top, maybe 32 ounces, I don't know. Places the partially full box of Safeway's finest amongst the boxes of the sugary cereal concealed in the pantry. All for the sake of bolstering her emergency supplies. To my surprise, she returns to our conversation, picking up from where she had left it. It is late in the night, and the crowd has begun to disperse. We were speaking on a subject that I'm struggling to remember. It was late, but something along the lines of the overall erosion of the intellect of the frighteningly bland, the frequent pairing of overexcitability and aggression, religious zealotry, and how all of this was fucking with our style, how messed up it is that the tolerant get constantly trampled and shafted, and that one aspect of being compassionate was always going to be that the frighteningly bland believe that our being tolerant means that they are allowed to behave as spoiled children would. We cannot allow ourselves to be fooled. The real person under all those disgusting and blistered layers was a bastard too, only of a subtly different nature. As we're talking to one another at this house party and drinking, Maurice approaches us, shiny life of the party mood and all. He's totally amped up and wired walking in, as he's going on about a fight that had just happened between his horrible friends at a hookah bar, or something inane like that. I don't know, I stopped listening pretty early on. People call him Mars because he's cool like that, but doesn't know how to change a tire, litters habitually, and constantly has at least one or two good rumors going around about him. Minnie's pretty annoyed as well, and she keeps looking down into his stupid whiskey and orange juice or whatever it was. I can't figure out why to save my life, but I had the urge to say do it. So he's prattling on, and after a while of not hearing anything that Mars is saying, we tune in just in time for something that he must think is casually racist. Minnie rolls her eyes crazier and funnier than I had ever seen until then, and slowly raises her arm, commencing to drop her freshly lit Newport into Mars's stupid whiskey and orange juice, never breaking eye contact, and she said, "Nature does nothing in vain, Mars. I'd be your worst nightmare if you ever dared to dream."